Welcome to the Tokumba Chronicles, a podcast about the journeys we take and the stories we make. In this podcast, I'll be sharing moving stories that are sure to empower, educate, and entertain you. Stories have an incredible way of connecting us to one another, uplifting us, and giving us permission to tell our own story. I will be speaking to entrepreneurs, trailblazers, and dreamers who have incredible and powerful stories to share. From their triumphs and tribulations, we'll be drawing out the details, the how-tos, and the lessons we can take away. Life is what you make it, and only you get to decide how your story is written. I hope by sharing these stories with you, you will live inspired and equipped to live yours out unapologetically. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the chronicles. I am your host and chief storyteller, Tokumba Kweki, a multi-passionate entrepreneur, founder of the award-winning Tokumba's Kitchen and London African Food Week. When I'm not cooking up a storm in the kitchen or regaling guests with my own epic stories, you are most likely to find me in the middle of the dance floor, bringing the party to life. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Tokumba Chronicles podcast. I am super excited about my guest on the show today, Arlan Hamilton, as she is so inspiring to me and has also been a mentor of mine from afar. In fact, I could not have imagined that I would have had an opportunity to speak to Arlan, especially not so early on in my podcast journey. Arlan's powerful and incredible story of having built a venture capital fund, which has now gone on to raise over $10 million from the ground up while homeless, led her to become the first Black woman non-celebrity ever featured on the cover of Fast Company magazine in October 2018. So here's a funny story of how I landed this interview. A couple weeks ago, I was doing what I normally do, spending way too much time on Twitter, when on this particular night, it so happened to pay off. Arlan had tweeted an incredible offer to podcast hosts like myself who were just getting started, giving us an opportunity to interview her for the release of her upcoming book, It's About Damn Time, which comes out today, May 5th, 2020. That this interview happened due to my addictive love of Twitter shows how social media has made it possible for us to reach other people outside of our immediate network. In this episode, Arlan shares a brief insight into how she was able to remain steadfast with her goal, even during the dark times, by constantly reminding herself of the impact she was seeking to make. Arlan's story is one of having a grand vision, leaving behind a legacy, perseverance, and an unwavering sense of self-belief. As Arlan writes in her book, in order to become, I needed to be. I think that this is an important message for us, especially if you're listening to this in real time, as the world continues to reel from the effect of the global COVID-19 pandemic. Arlan's story is a testament to show that no matter where we are in our lives and no matter how bleak things look, the first step to changing our lives is to believe in the vision of what you want to be. This really resonated with me because I am also going through a pivot in my career. Truly, it is about damn time for us to seek a life that is of our own. Arlan's story shows that no matter how absurd or audacious your goals are in relation to your current reality, having a clear vision and a strong why will help you to keep going during these dark times. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the chronicles. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm really excited to speak with you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, it turns out we have a couple things in common. So my
Okay.
birthday is 3 days before yours, a year after you.
Love it.
And I was also homeless myself. So you are such an inspiration to me.
Oh, thank you very much.
So just kind of get right on with it. First of all, just wanted to know who would you say were your greatest influence growing up?
Growing up, it would have to be my greatest influences were my mom.
Yeah.
Her name is Mrs. Erlene Sims, and Janet Jackson.
Okay.
And yeah, and I
strong
talk about
women.
I talk about that in the book as to why and the moment that really changed my life, going to her concert. But those two strong Black women were definitely, and had a few others that I thought were cool, but those are the main ones.
Amazing. Definitely resonates with me. My mom was my first role model and greatest role model growing up as well.
Awesome.
Um, I was just kind of listening to an excerpt from your book that you tweeted about tonight, and there was a line that you said that really stuck with me. You talked about living in San Francisco, sleeping in San Francisco airport, but at an hotel, and you were kind of like repeating to yourself that you are a venture capitalist, and you said, in order to become, I needed to be. Wanted
Yes.
to just know, how did you manage to stay so motivated and stay so strong in pursuit of your goals, even whilst being homeless and, sleeping in an airport?
It wasn't always easy. I definitely had my dark moments. I had my moments where I was like, I didn't have as much motivation. It wasn't all hype. But for the most part, what I would do is I would think about what good could happen if I were to achieve my goals, and who would be impacted by it. This world that I had imagined in my mind, this vision of what it could look like, what was the positive to that? And that would get me out of slumps when I was feeling down. I also just really believed in it. I believed that it needed to exist in the world. I believe that a fund to invest in underrepresented, underestimated founders who
Yeah.
looked like me, who came from the same kind of places I came from, I believed that it needed to happen. And so when you have that much belief and that much, I don't know, just conviction, if you have that much conviction in yourself and in what you're working on, to me, it was like I couldn't, there was no way I was going to stop.
Love it. I mean, thank you. I definitely love the fact that, you did, like you said, it's not always easy. And even during the dark times, knowing that what you were trying to create was so much bigger than you was something that kept you motivated and kept you going. That's so inspiring to me.
Thank you.
And just another thing that I wanted to also find, just doing some research and reading about you, you were working in the music industry before you decided to pivot to venture capitalist, and there was something that you said about being curious. And I wanted to just learn and find out from you, where did your curiosity from learning come from?
I'm not really sure if it came from anywhere. I think I was just always like that. I think kids in general always ask questions. They always asking why, who, where, when,
Yeah.
and what. And I think I was always asking that, but I just never stopped. And I just, it was hard for me to read something or to hear something and not say, okay, can we look at it from a different angle? Why is that? And so I would get in trouble a lot in school. As a real young kid, I would get in trouble all the way through high school because I would say, okay, it's in the book. I just read it in the book. Now, can we talk
Yeah.
about why that's so? And so the teachers would be like, but it's in the book, it's already there. And I would be like, but why is that the end all? So I think I never went to college, but I was probably just better suited for a college kind of situation because you get to ask questions more so there and you get to have a little bit more dialogue. But I
Yeah.
was, 7, 8 years old saying, why is it so? So always like that.
Amazing. As somebody who has been following your story from across the Atlantic here in London, could you just tell us a little bit about your background and where you grew up?
Yeah, so I was raised in Dallas, Texas, and no, I didn't own a horse. A lot of people ask me that from other countries. Never owned a horse, never wore a cowboy hat, no boots. But I was raised in Dallas, and it was like I felt like I had a lot of love. I mean, our family was full of love. My mom, single mother, and my younger brother Alfred, who goes by Rook now. He's a rapper, goes by Rook.
Mhm.
And we would just kind of bounce around from apartment to apartment just because we couldn't really afford it for too long. But
Mm,
we stayed in the same school district, which was really, it took me into my 30s to realize how important that was and how difficult that must have been for my mom to achieve. But that meant that we didn't have to bounce from school to school like so many people did.
yeah.
And I was a great student. Like I did well on tests and everything, but I was just so bored and so not challenged, and so I felt like was always getting in trouble because I was speaking my mind, and they were saying I was aggressive, and I was just like, I'm 12. But that happened a lot in the South. But yeah, so I grew up and I just grew up around music. Music was my life for so long, and that's what happened. And I didn't go to college. I moved around a lot all over the country, and then I moved to California. And then I started a music magazine in my 20s, and then I got into music production, so like the side of it, the touring side. So all of that I talk about in my book, It's About Damn Time. I go through all kind of that along those pieces, like different anecdotes from those times, because they're interesting. I was doing some odd stuff back then.
Amazing. Sounds like you had such such an incredible life. And, I love, what you said about your mom, making sure that you stayed in the same school district, even though you were moving home during that period, kind of just helped to keep you grounded. Would you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just have a little tea. Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a chaotic time because we didn't have any money. We would run out, sometimes I'd have to do my homework in the dark because we'd run out. We wouldn't have money for utilities. But I always had that steadiness of knowing that my mom loved me and that she was doing the best she could. And I think I hear so many stories of people who had kind of the opposite or had both going on, where maybe they didn't have any money, but also their mom or their dad or whatever was abusive, or they were neglectful or negligent and all of that. Negligent is the word. And then you have some people who had all the money in the world, but they didn't have any kind of relationship with their parents, and they grow up to kind of have that baggage. I feel like I got the best version that I could get under the circumstances. I got a mom who to this day will drop everything. I mean, she's 71, and she'll drop everything if I need something, and that's a beautiful thing that it took me quite a long time to figure out.
Amazing. Again, just kind of sticking to your childhood, because I truly believe the person that we become is formed in our early childhood. What were your aspirations for when you got older?
Well, when I talk about early in the book, I talk about this concert I went to when I was 13. It was Janet Jackson. It was my first concert. And through a different string of events that I go into in the book, I got to see her front row.
Amazing.
At this huge, huge event. And it was, I remember I can still feel like the emotion of it. I can still see everything that I saw. It's so vivid to me. And that was 26 years ago, something like that. But I said that night, when I look back at everybody, I know exactly what part of the stage I was standing next to, like I could still see that wave of people, and everybody was so diverse and so interesting. And I remember just thinking to myself, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know what to call this, whatever this career is. And I know I don't want to be on stage. I'm not trying to be like a dancer or anything, but I know I want to be around this feeling as much as possible, this feeling of being around people. So it was pretty much solidified in that moment that I was going to do something that had to do with connecting people and being around people. And in fact, I literally became a tour production coordinator, road manager, tour manager for several years of my adult life. And so it was like that, I saw that in that moment. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was always, even though I was broke, I was always doing something to connect people, because I couldn't help myself. That was just what I was drawn to. And so now this chapter of my life at Backstage Capital, where I invest in underrepresented, underestimated startup founders, it's just another version of that, of connecting, of seeing people for different, like seeing the value in people in different ways, being creative, and then trying to find resources for them. So it hasn't been an easy journey, and contrary to what most people think, I'm not sitting over here rich. It's like everything that I've earned has been like really hard earned, but it's like it kind of reminds me of that, being that 13-year-old, and then being in my early 20s, and then now it just all kind of connects.
Amazing. It's like the jigsaw puzzles are just fitting in together.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
100%.
As I consider myself to be an accidental entrepreneur. And for the
Hmm.
last 4.5 years, I've been running a food business, spreading the gospel of Nigerian cuisine and West African cuisine across London, England. And I've also did a event in New York a couple of years ago.
That's
But
great.
more sorry?
I said that's great.
Thank you. But more recently, especially with what's going on in the world right now, but even before then, I've been really thinking about what other ways I can, pivot away from this business and do something that's more tech related, because I see that there's such a underrepresentation of Black women in tech. So I just wanted to know from you, in what ways do you feel that Black women globally can get into tech business and start up businesses that would then lead to being able to acquire VC investment?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm a venture capitalist, right? But I don't know if I think that that's the goal, is to what you just said, right? Is to become a tech entrepreneur so you can procure venture investment, or so that you do. To me, it's more like, what do you want to wake up doing every day that makes you
Mm,
happy? That fuels you, that gives you hope, and just makes you feel like you're on the right path. Like the venture capital, honestly, and I'm one of them, but it's like I've seen both sides now. And venture capital is just a tool. It's just a means to an end. You,
mm,
if you, People who get into this trying to see about raising money, they find out real quickly that it is so difficult to do, A, and B, you have to sacrifice a lot when you take on venture capital. You have to give up equity in your company to people who you haven't known for a long time, and you
yeah,
don't know how it's going to turn out. And so if it were me, if I were just starting out, and I've done this before, I would do it again, right? I would start a company that made me happy. And I
okay,
mean it, even if that meant I was working a 9 to 5 and I started a company on the side, whatever. I need that health insurance, you got to eat, you got to be whatever.
yeah.
I've done every job in the book, I don't, I'm only saying what I would do myself. I would start something that I actually really liked. It wouldn't even have to be a tech company. It would just need to be something that I really enjoyed. And maybe there was tech enabled. Maybe there's something that I started that needed tech to enable it to happen. But the goal would be, what makes me happy? And
Sure.
then I would see, is this going to be effective for other people? Do other people want this? I would much rather have a company that made $100,000 a year and 99,000 of that went to me, than to
Mm,
have a company that made $10 million a year and 9,000 went to me, because I had sold
yeah,
all this equity out to all these people who have every right to tell me what to do. Now, there are some companies, a few, that will, even people listening to me right now, that will be started, and you will take on venture capital, and that's wonderful, because that's what's meant for you. But
yeah,
the majority, I think like less than 1% of companies take venture capital. That means that the majority of us have that control of our destinies. And that's what I would do. I would say, what can I do that makes me happy? What do other people need? How can I repurpose what success looks like and what that means to me? And then forget
yeah.
about what anybody else thinks, And
Amazing.
then how do I go in that direction?
Amazing. I mean, thank you. That is so much, very much in line with where my head is at right now and what I'm trying to pivot into. Going back to your book, It's About Damn Time. First of all, I love, love, love the title. Could you tell us a little bit about why you chose that title? And
Yeah.
also, what is the message that you hope readers take away from your story and from your journey?
Yeah. So I chose It's About Damn Time. Actually, I tweeted out a couple of years ago. I said, people are calling this a diversity fund. I'm calling it, and it's about damn time fund, because it just meant like it's about time for us to have funds and have people taking us seriously in the tech world and in the business world. It's like this should have already happened. It's about time that we get what's ours, and that's kind of how I feel about it. So it really took off, and I moved that over to the book title just because I wanted to get people's attention to say, look, not only is it about damn time that somebody like me, who looks like me, who's gay, Black woman in the US, writing checks to people, but it's about damn time for you, the reader, to get whatever it is that you've wanted. And I break it down in 8 sections of like, how do you figure out what you want? And then what do you do once you want it? So that's what it was. And what I hope people get from it is that I hope no matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you have a company, if you want to start a company, if you never want to start a company and you want to work for someone else and have a really good, solid living for yourself, I think there's something really beautiful about that, because you can go do your thing and then on the side you can do, your creative side. And I know a lot of people who are successful that way. No matter what it is that you end up doing, I hope that you take the book and say, look, this was meant for me. This space, this area that I was given on this earth was meant for me. I get to do whatever. It's almost like everybody was given a garden.
Sure.
I'm just making this up right now, so I don't know how elegant it'll be, but it's just like almost everybody is given a garden. You've given your piece, and you can make whatever you want from it. And I just believe that everybody has that equal space. And I hope this motivates people to know their value and to know what it is their time.
Oh, amazing. I mean, thank you so much. Personally, just the little bit that I've known of following you on Twitter for the last couple of years and just hearing about your story and your journey, I am so excited for this book. And
Thank you.
I completely agree with you. It's about damn time that we take up space as
Yes.
Black women globally, doing incredible things. And most importantly, what I really love about what you're doing is showing up for other Black women.
Yeah.
So,
I will continue to, in the UK, you can get the UK version of the book. I'm so excited about it because there's a US version that you can order, but you can I actually signed up with the publisher in the UK special edition. It actually is has a couple of different edits to it too. So it's like a collector's item that I'm going to definitely be trying to get, So order, if you go to itsaboutdamntime.com, on that first page, you can click and get it in the UK directly.
Amazing. I will do so. I know you have a very busy schedule, so thank you so much for your time. Just to wrap up, I know you do come to London quite frequently. So the next time you come to London, I want to invite you to Tokumbo's Kitchen so that you can eat some jollof rice and some good Nigerian food.
Oh man, I would love to. Let's make sure that happens because I'm already hungry. That makes me hungry just thinking about it. I don't even know what that is, but it makes me hungry thinking about it. Let's go.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
All right, thank you.
I look forward to reading your book and saying more about your journey.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.